Hello YouTube! This is a different video for me. As you can see, we are kind of in, well, my new Twitch setup. And if you aren't following me on Twitch, you totally should. Twitch.tv/AstroloShe. But today, we are here, more exploring the craft side of things. I've done a 3-hour and 15-minute build for you all in The Sims. And I wanted to speed that footage up so that it didn't take over 3 hours for you to watch me build this thing, and kind of show you my thought process and do kind of a voiceover of a speed build. So if you are interested, this is up in the gallery right now. What I'm about to show to you is up in the gallery right this second. You can go view it. My username in there is just AstroloShe, just like it is here on YouTube, but without the craft. If you want to go download it for yourself. The lot is, I believe, 30 by 20, so it's kind of a smaller lot. I love to do college campus things, so let's dive right in. This is the first video we're doing, so if it's a little scuffed, that's gonna be how it's gonna be, because you know me, I don't love to do a lot of editing. If you ever heard my podcast, I don't like to do a lot of editing, so we're doing a lot of tricks here. So let me get the video started for you guys. Ka-chow. Okay, so welcome. It's very fast. This is the lot that used to be there. I bulldozed it, obviously. I'm gonna start by putting the hedges back in, just because I really did kind of like that. I like that look, and it kind of is an homage to the area that was there before. My main goal, so this is in Foxbury. So if you aren't familiar in the university part of it all, in The Sims 4, you get a world called Britechester, which houses both Foxbury and, oh boy, I've flubbed on the other school name, but Foxbury is very modern. The other one is not so modern. It's more traditional, kind of like Ivy League versus like a modern school. So my primary goal with this lot, this is kind of what used to be like a shared house lot, where I think maybe 5 to 6, maybe 4 to 6 Sims could live if they had, bunk beds. I wanted to make this into a university lot that ties together both like tiny home aesthetic as well as multiple communal spaces, because if you are somebody who also dives into the gameplay of university, you'll know that there are a lot of things that you need to do to like keep your social bar up, not including, like fitness or chess or just talking, or there's a ping pong table you guys will see later, but there's also a need for ample space, especially when you have a lot of tight quarters in the pre-built dorms that are there for you. So I wanted to make a large communal space, kind of with these two structures on either side. You'll start to see the other structure being built here shortly. These are the primary residencies. What it is are 2 students per room, so automatically you can sleep 8. And then the extra kind of wings here that I'm going to put the walls in, or I'm going to start putting walls in, are going to be the bathroom and showers for those buildings. I love tiny home building. This build specifically, I was trying to stick to just base game and just Discover University packs, because when you give me free will, I build crazy things. I think there's been a build that I've had at least 15 packs utilized, which is insane. So for those who aren't in the know, you can upload this to what they call the gallery, and in the gallery people can download these builds and put them on their own worlds. So the more packs that you use, the more it's going to kind of be on the other players to have those packs for the full experience. So if you try to build base game, or maybe, even the world you're building it for, so I'm building it for Discover University, if you can stick those 2 packs, the build is going to come out pretty identical to what I'm building here and what's in the gallery, like the photos that EA generates for you. So there are some limitations. And there's also going to be a little bit of pause here and there because I've been working through some Etsy things today, as well as watching The Traders on Peacock. So shout out, I guess, to like NBC in this moment because The Traders is really great. Anyhow, but there was a lot of limitations when it comes to build stuff. For example, I know that in tiny living, there's a lot more clutter, which I love to use. Especially if I were to flesh out the dorms, and you guys let me know in the comments, the shared spaces that we work through in this build, where the student residents would sleep. I just kind of threw in the bed systems. I didn't even throw in any lighting. They're kind of like traditional dorms in that case. Like there's not really any built-in lighting per se. I know some dorms have like, the fluorescent big light up top. But I did not choose to do that because a lot of the dorm experience I had, yes, we had a light up top, but also it was very evident that it was going to be a lot of lamps, a lot of string lights. So when you move your student in, you have an opportunity to kind of decorate your space and like rearrange some furniture in build mode. Obviously, you can't like destroy things necessarily and like replace them with your own. But you do have an opportunity to decorate the walls with certain, limited packs of things. You can set things on dressers, set things on desks. And so I left the dormitories pretty basic. Of course, they've got, flooring and wallpaper, but they're not necessarily set up in any specific configuration. I just made sure that there were 2 desks, 2 desk chairs, 2 beds, and 2 dressers in there, because that's kind of a normal dorm setup here in the United States, at least from my POV. So we're working on the bathrooms, as we can see here on screen. I really didn't love the fact that I could only fit like 2 toilets in one of the wings, whereas I could fit 4 of the standalone showers. But in the other building, I tried to make sure that at least there were 2 like complete, I guess we call them half baths, because they don't have a shower or any kind of bathing component, but like a toilet sink combo in the main residential part of the building, or the communal space in the building, so that if by chance those restrooms were full, which will happen, there is an alternative so that there are 4 showers and 4 bathrooms on the property. We also, and this is where I'm going to kind of divvy out what the dorm furniture is going to be, and everybody got the same thing. I did not change bed sheets. I didn't change colors per room. Everybody got the same thing. I just kind of put them in there wherever they fit, with the full intention that if you do a playthrough, and I may do a playthrough like on Twitch or so, you can decorate it to your heart's content. Posters and lights and plants and sculptures and whatever you can bring, whatever you can add to the room, that's what we'll do. I also left the deck space upstairs pretty open. Originally, I was going to fill it out with some of those lounge chairs, which you guys haven't seen yet. So I'm talking future tense. But in the game, in the actual play, there is a section. There is a feature where you're going to have to do a project, and it kind of pulls out like an easel and like a trifold like cardboard situation that requires space to do things. And so I did leave space down in this kind of like middle courtyardy area that we developed kind of last. But I left space up top on the deck so that the student didn't have to go super far to do those, especially like if it's raining, thunderstorming, snowing, whatever it might be. Like, yeah, it's gonna suck to be out on the deck to do it, but like at least you've got room to do it, especially with 8 people being on the premises. And like, let's say everyone has a project, we are gonna have that space. Talking about, I really didn't love this tile, like the rosy red tile, but it did more match the sidewalk that was already in game. That's a part of the world there on the right hand side. I tried to use like the accent, and I think I went through brick colors in real time for about 15 minutes, which to us here is probably like a speck of frame. Thank goodness, honestly. But I chose to stick with that. I'll stick with that with the paths as well. Same stairs for the other building, up to this one. The funky kind of U shape, I put those half baths there on the sides. That's what's going to go in those two rectangles right there, with the stairs in between the two, so that you can access them on the inside. This main building is your communal space. This is where the kitchenette's going to be. It's only kind of like half of a galley kitchen, so it's not like a full, like, maybe with an island in the middle, though I would have loved to do that. I wanted to make sure that I had that component for the students where, like, it becomes kind of like a buffet, and they can just come through with their trays and, like, get food. I wanted to make sure that that component was still at play here. I also am going to build, yes, a deck, but we'll kind of transform it at the end, and I'll explain a little bit more about that soon. I'm going to do some checkerboard. That's kind of been a staple of mine in Minecraft lately, is like doing like a checkerboard path and grass, especially when sometimes like I don't want the path to be so crispy. I want the edges to be more organic, so I do love the checkerboard pattern. I'm also building a basement. This is kind of a small rec room, if you will. A lot of the communal space is outside, which in gameplay world is not the best because, you know, there is thunderstorms, there is rain, there is snow. Maybe if you don't have the seasons pack, but like I do have the seasons pack, so I play with seasons on. So I wanted to make like a small area of just like, you could take food down there if you didn't want to try to eat outside. There is a playing card table down there. There's a TV and a fireplace, so you can get cozy. The thing that I didn't add in this build, and like this is me realizing that, is like I didn't add smoke detectors or the fire thing. So note to you, if you grab this from the gallery, make sure you add those wherever you need to, or just let it burn. It's up to you. But this is real time. I just remembered I didn't do that, but it's okay. We're fine. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, there you can see the buffet kind of going in. Like I said, an NPC will come through in the behind of that counter and just kind of slide in and fill the food. So when I was building this, I was kind of thinking like sorority mansion, sorority house, where sometimes like, yeah, there is like a chef. Other times, you know, it's like a dedicated catering staff. And so this was kind of a dedicated catering staff. But I also wanted to have an area so that there's a big communal fridge. And there is plenty of counter space for the microwave, for a coffee maker, and plenty of cabinetry up top for quote-unquote storage, even though they're not used like storage. That's okay. We play pretend, Sims. We play pretend. So this is me. I'm going to fight rugs here soon and just try to figure out what the rug situation is going to be. I tried to put in those little half walls to kind of make it like its own area, and so it doesn't butt up against the bathroom door. So I don't know, in my world I don't want to be reminded that I'm right next to the bathroom. So I wanted to make those cute little walls to kind of encompass everything, and make things a little bit more modular. Another item I wanted to put in here is the fantastic trash can that, you know, eats everything and it disappears so that nothing piles up. And then I also wanted to include the vending machine. Now, I know that you can have a vending machine death, so, like, I don't want to do that. Oh, don't mind me twirling my trash can for 5 seconds. It was more like 5 minutes. I just couldn't. I kept right-clicking to, like, spin it around, and I just kept missing. I was trying to watch the traders at the same time, and so that's why it is what it is. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. We're adding some lighting, some general lighting, so that everything kind of gets lit up. I'm going to add a chess board, no T, on the other side of the railing there. I didn't quite know what to put back there. I could just leave it open, but I really wanted to try to fill it out and make it kind of an interesting piece, so it's not just, I don't know, banished space in the back. So I put a chess board back there chess table, with 2 chairs, and fully light that section up, so that the stairs can have some light, and then our chess players can also have some light. We add in some, Also, the other university is called Britechester. That finally just clicked with me. But we try to fill this wall out so it's a feature and it's not, again, not just sad lost space. You're going to notice that I love a gallery wall moment, and I love using the Alt key, both the Alt key and kind of the brackets. Of course, bb.move objects, but since Sims kind of updated it so that you didn't have to do a cheat, I like making gallery walls. You'll see that in the basement as well. Just trying to give some personality, because this was about the time that I noticed I was choosing a lot of gray. And yes, like, though there was wood, like, on the floor, and, you know, I was choosing, like, a nice cabinet color and blah, 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 it started to feel, kind of prison-y, in a really, like, luxe prison kind of way, but it still felt pretty, bland. And so I wanted to make sure that it didn't feel as bland, and or like the spaces below and underneath. The space below that we're building here felt colorful, and then the outdoor spaces also felt colorful. So the goal, if this was real life, would be to have the students outside kind of touching grass or being adjacent to grass as much as possible, rather than cooped up in their dorm rooms. So I'm building in kind of a built-in fireplace moment here with a very small TV. The big TV that I love to use in these spaces just did not fit, and I didn't want to, again, I didn't want to use bb.move objects. So I'm going to fight wallpaper here for a second, and I'm going to take a drink while I fight this wallpaper. There's some light. I hope you all heard that gulp. If you did, I'm so sorry. If you liked it, you're welcome. Down here, really, it's a small space. It's a very small basement. This is a little bit about me. I really hate tornadoes and storms. So when I was at university, shout out to Vincent University in Vincennes, Indiana. That's where I went to college. My dormitory, and I think there were a couple dorms that technically had a basement area. My dorm did not. So when we had a huge, rip-roaring storm just tear through the campus, we were all kind of like snuggled up in a hallway at the bottom floor, like hoping, under the emergency lights when the power went out. And so in this build, I kind of had that memory pop up in my head, and I was like, I want to build at least some basement space so that if there's only 8 of them living here and maybe some staff, like we would all be able to fit in the basement and be okay. If this were real life and, there was a big storm coming through. We had to have a card table. Of course, I was raised on card games. So we had to do card games down at the bottom. I'm trying to figure out how the space works. Originally, I wanted to put like a proper couch and like a couple of nice sitting chairs, but the space did not call for that. The space actively rejected that. So we went with a nice love seat in front of the small couch. Again, the focus, I think, is to try to have the children go outside. This wall was kind of inspired by kind of like a sorority styled awards or like memorabilia wall. I wanted to make a collage that had these awards, had these blueprints, had, a patent, had different documentation to kind of show off their history. And so this is one of the bigger components that really was like pushing kind of like a Greek life sorority fraternity kind of angle. Outside of that, I tried to keep it as neutral as possible. So I'm going to fight things on the wall as per usual. We're going to adjust things. There it is. Look at that. That's so good. I wish I had like my stuff pack so that I could just like fill in those little gaps, but it's okay. We will survive and we'll be okay. Trying to dress it up as any way I can. I don't have my favorite rug pack on. In fact, I don't even remember what pack it is. It's like the round jute rugs. I use those things freaking constantly, and I don't have them on for this build, but it's not the worst thing in the world. We made do. I wanted to make sure it was playable. And so we're putting a couple boards up because I figured this would be where like announcements and like whatever could be. If you're sorority or fraternity inclined, like this is where like you guys can meet for chapter and either sit on the floor, sit at the card table. There are plenty of seats, and kind of have chapter, which is like a big meeting. That's like a house-wide meeting. But put a bookshelf down here so that students can come and read books, as well as watch TV if they wanted. They can interact with the style board over there on the left-hand side. There's a mirror right there. They can practice charisma if they'd like. Just trying to fill it out the best I can with such a small space. Trying to be more intentional on what a sim could do versus just how it looks. But, you know, the looks are important. I'm mainly a builder in The Sims. I'm not necessarily a player. So just trying to figure that out. Ultimately, I had to keep the half bar open on behind the couch because that's where people are going to sit. I was worried that if I put plants on either side, that, excuse me, that it was going to impede somebody's chances of putting down like a shareable food or somebody's plate. So ultimately, we had to keep it clear. But that's okay. All right, so now we're going to build one of the first outdoor areas of the build, which I am quite excited for. This is something that I really had there's like a fire table that I had in mind that I really wanted to use and then realized it's not part of the base pack, which is on me. I think I have like the cool patio furniture or something to that degree. Kind of a fire table you can put chairs around, and it's not necessarily like the big bonfire that I keep trying to place. You'll see me try to place it like 3 or 4 times because I would have loved that. Instead of you'll see the fountain in the courtyard soon, but instead of like a fountain in the courtyard, I would love to have like a fire element, because it just feels even more like Greek to me having like an open flame. But all I had was a bonfire and some fireplaces, and so no, it didn't happen. We are going to work on this big old deck. It seems massive, and at this point I was like, there has to be another component somewhere. Like, we could of course have like dining and stuff like up top and under this kind of like overhang, but we have to have something up there. And so that is where the ping pong table lives, but we'll get there in due time. I'm going to take another drink. I think there's a point where my camera just stares at the deck for a second because again, I was working through some Etsy issues and things really flared up all at once, and so I had to stop, and during that stop, take a nice little snack break, get some chicken, get a drink, much like I'm gonna do now while I'm trying to figure out what the hell to put underneath this thing. And that table is a traitor. Exactly. Like, it's just supposed to be like an accent table, which is fine, but like I was really hoping that it would actually just be somewhere that people can dine. I did not end up using it just because I think the style was way more Britechester than it was Foxbury. Actually, no, it's not called Britechester. The world's called Britechester. It's fine. I'll figure it out one day. I'll figure out what the other college be doing one day. I don't generally play the other college. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like the lobsters more. Maybe it's called like U-Bright. Maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, I'm working on the bottom. I made a place for bikes to go. Bikes are a huge part of the university life in The Sims. That's your main mode of travel, and this is where I'm going to stare at the deck for a long time. As you can see, it's a little awkward. Like, it's just a huge deck, which, like, is fine, but, like, nothing has a roof at this point, so, like, it's all kind of, like, one note, one level in that way. And so, you'll see me work through that problem here soon, but I wanted this whole building to be a main hub. So as you're coming in from class, as you are hungry, as you are meeting friends, or friends are coming to meet you, like, you don't even have to touch the dormitories. You can stay on this side of the mini campus, or at least I called it a mini campus inside of the, yep, inside, inside of EA, when I uploaded it to the gallery, I called it a mini campus, because we're going to add just a couple more buildings here. I'm kind of alive. Etsy popped off again, so I had to address, and so we're in the awkward holding pattern, and that's okay. But there's me trying to, like, place the big bonfire, which I think the fountain I ended up going with was fine, but, you know. This is me trying to build a bar. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I thought about, and you'll see me place a bar or two up here. I was like, ooh, yeah. Like, we can have, like, plenty of space for the drinks to be aflow and put a keg up here. And then my brain is like, okay, but, like, no. Like, a lot of students are not eligible to drink because they are not old enough in the United States. So, like, we probably should not put a bar up here. But this structure, just imagine. I mean, I'll put the bar up here so, like, you'll be able to imagine it with me visually here in a second. But, like, just imagine this is, like, a nice rooftop bar. Ugh. With the tables and, like, the sun chairs. Dude. Beautiful. This is instead the enclosure that will house the ping pong table. At least in Foxbury's, like, communal space, like, student center, I guess you could call it. Ping pong tables are in the initial build. So anytime that I, like, work on, like, the student center or the student union, as I would otherwise call it, ping pong tables stay prevalent. There's the bar. See, it would look so good. Anyway, it's fine. I tried to put the bonfire in there. I tried to put the hot tub in there. And without the patio stuff on, you know what? Maybe we'll do a video where, like, I flesh this out the way that I would with, like, all my packs. Let me know if you'd be interested to see, like, that part of it, and, like, we revisit this. Which I may do for my world anyways. But I try to put 2 ping pong tables, and, like, that's a lot. So, keeping it 1 ping pong table. I tried to put a keg in there, and then my conscience caught up to me and was like, nope, we don't, no. I understand that it's just like a fun, fizzy thing, but my conscience said, no, we're not doing that. So, from here, we're going to place the tables and chairs, just to kind of have some umbrellaed seating, which I put a planter down. I took the planter back out because it just wasn't enough space. And I figured if I'm thinking of, like, dorms wouldn't necessarily have a garden space. And if yours did, sound off below, honestly. Sound off in the comments. I would love to hear about this shared space that you had in college, because my college didn't necessarily have that. Like, we had some spaces that you could do things like that, but ultimately, I decided against it. Put a couple sunbathing chairs out. Put some tables so that you can put a drink on there, or your book, or your iPad, laptop, whatever. We're going to start lighting the place, and I'm going to finally test with night, because I haven't so far tested with night at all. So we're going to put some benches at the top of the stairs so that people can just sit and commune. I thought about having them face the ping pong table, but honestly, I think that's too much. I'd rather just keep it for the players. I know, very technical things for The Sims 4. But we're going to go through, add some lighting. I tried to add some rugs. It just is not the vibe. I did find one. It is not super level, or in the center of, like, that railing. And so I had to, like, leave the area pretty quickly because I started being like, but it doesn't match. And it's like, girl, bye. Get over it. So that the video wasn't going to go long. Well, even longer than 3 hours and 15 minutes. Adjusting the hedges. At this point, I kind of came to the conclusion that, like, this is too much open area. We need to add something. So in the spirit of, like, tiny home, I am working on kind of a 2-piece gym. The gym is not anything, like, super robust. One side has two treadmills. The other side has two of like the combo, like, pulley system. I don't go to the gym. Okay. No. The most I enjoy is a treadmill. But one side will have two machines, the other side will have two machines. And it's a pretty simple building. I just tried to accent it with some towels, try to accent it with some plants, and things like that. I did do a little bit of the, like, pattern kind of pathing here in the middle, which this is where the fountain's gonna go. This is where I wish, like, the bonfire could be, or some kind of, like, fire element, like a bowl of fire, because it would be so pretty in the middle. Yeah, I think these buildings are pretty small, but ideally, all these buildings would be, like, air conditioned, even though there's not, like, a visible mini split. It could be really nice on a hot day, especially if you're just wanting to not be in a campus gym that's so full of equipment and so full of people. You can just have your own little personal here, if they're open, of course. But put some mirrors in there. I end up taking the mirrors out of the treadmill room on that back wall. I put them on the sides instead, just so that you can look at your form. I figured that was more close to real life. And anytime that, like, the camera, like, goes all the way to, like, one edge and, like, leaves the build, that's me, like, watching the traders, and I forgot my mouse just roams, which I think you can turn that off, but, like, I like suffering in that way. So we left them on, but we're going to continue to build. I'm putting a couple counters in the bench room and then putting some towels down. In other packs, there's, like, water bottles, or like a metal water bottle, if you know what I'm talking about. Not a Stanley, but, like, like a nicer water bottle in the other stuff packs, the clutter pack. I would love to put that stuff here just because it would fit the theme so well. But we are sticking to Discover University and base game. And so I believe the walls and the flooring and all of it, well, in both of the gym buildings, are from University. A lot of stuff is from base game. I tried not even using University. At first, when I built, like, the original dormitories, I just stuck to base game. And then as I realized, like, oh, duh, we're building for University. I ended up adding University. Shocker. Here's where I'm trying to figure out what the heck to go on that wall, because it just feels naked, or it feels like a pool wall, like a swimming pool, and I didn't love it. So I was trying to go through all of these different things to see if I can't fill up the wall space with something. That's the only walkable, like, block is, like, back there, and that's how people get on the treadmill. And so I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything impeding over there. So, like, that light would have been too chunky and they wouldn't be able to walk around. So we ended up going back to the banner for the school with a couple of nice little lights, trying to figure out how to better fill the space. But it's okay. It's okay. I think simple is best. Yeah, I'm trying to add, like, end tables and stuff, and it's just like, no. At this point, I think I start working on the courtyard and just figuring out what we want to do using these little baby puck lights. Look how pretty that is! Oh my god! I didn't want the traditional fountain. It looked too traditional, so I went with the square fountain instead. I realized that the gym pieces didn't have a roof, and so we should do the roof and make sure that those are nicely put in. Put some upper windows just for some flair, because I like the little accent windows. And then really look at kind of what we're doing with the landscaping around here. Obviously, there's not a lot of grass to work with. Like, this is, like, the only exposed grass other than what's underneath the deck on the main building. And so trying to put in some shrubbery, it wasn't really driving with me because it's an uneven amount. And then every other like big bush was just not it. But I think this ended up being great. I will say there is footage outside of this video. I realized that the bathrooms in the main building weren't done after I like stopped recording. So I did that, and I did a little bit more landscaping. So if you want to see the full build, I should say, and kind of like where it's sitting in the gallery, again, go to the gallery in The Sims 4. You can find it under AstroloShe. It's like my YouTube name here, but without craft, spelled the exact same way, and you can find everything there. But we are coming to the close of this build. I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone who's been listening to the podcast and like coming over to subscribe. Thank you so much. If you want me to do like take this build but like decorate it hog wild like I would, please let me know, and I would be extremely excited to do that for you. I hope you like the build. I love doing small builds. I love doing campus builds, just because I like to play pretend as to what could be. Adding on those final roof pieces because I forgot that roofs existed. Doing a little bit of roof trim, and then that's going to do it. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Let me know your feedback if you like this build, if you didn't like this build. And I will look forward to the next build with you guys. Thank you so much. See you later. Bye.